The John LeBang Show has been known to make people laugh, sing, think, scream, throw things in rage, and generally lose their minds. Listener discretion is advised.
Worldwide and out to the greater universe, you're listening to the John LeBang Show.
Greetings, Earthlings, whether you're in South America, Eastern China, maybe Western Saudi Arabia, maybe you're just in Wales or Dundee. Thank you for joining me. Want to get to a few of the basics before we get into the meat of the broadcast, as we've been doing pretty regularly here on the show. We've been talking about the Banger Music Awards in this opening segment. We're also going to talk a little bit about my YouTube channel and what's going on over there, because things are getting pretty dicey for us small-time people that don't really bring Google any money. And because we don't do that, they don't find us financially viable. And we're seeing that they're beginning a process, and they sent out a notification recently, beginning a process of just getting rid of certain channels. I mean, they did that back when they got rid of Alex Jones, but now they're blaming it on government rules. During the old Trump administration, there's government rules which are forcing YouTube, according to them, to get rid of specific channels, anything that's supposedly not commercially viable. And if they're running monetization on your videos there, you have even bigger rules now to follow, which means they're really curbing speech in a direction that they feel is more accustomed to the future viewers of YouTube. Problem is, this is going to affect most of the channels that have been around from the early days or the very beginning of YouTube, as my channel is. I just got hit with a violation right after this little, that's why I'm bringing this up, right after this little notification that we got. I got hit with a violation on a video that was 4 or 5 years old. They called it hate speech. They got rid of it. They didn't think it was hate speech up until now. But when you tally in the new rules that they are implementing, then you could see that they're going to go about getting rid of channels they don't want by just hitting them with strikes to get rid of them. You know, after so many strikes, you're gone. You can't come back on YouTube. So that forced me to look into all my videos to make sure that I wasn't saying anything that would violate their new rules. I don't make them money because I'm not allowed to be monetized. It's been years since I've been a, what do they call it? A partner of some sort, whatever they call it. AdSense partner, I think is what it is. So it's been years, because way back when I reported a Family Guy thing and how it related to the Boston bombing. Just a coincidence, right? And they hit me with a strike. In fact, they shut me down for a little while. Once that was lifted from me, I think it was 6 months, it was never the same. I never got the amount of people that I used to get. And even lately, and maybe this is why they're taking action against me, lately my subscribers have skyrocketed. I'm not getting the video hits because ever since then, the thing I was talking about earlier, ever since then, my views have been way down. And I've thought for a long time that they were artificially suppressed because I was still getting subscribers and I was still getting likes and comments. Soon after that, actually, in the past, 2 or 3 years, maybe it's a little longer, because I've been in this monetization purgatory for 9 years. It's been a long time. They came out with the AdSense thing where you can make some money on your video, so everybody joined in, and then they took that away from me for illegally clicking. There's no real answer to that. I've never been able to correct that situation by going, what is illegally clicking? So I make sure I or my viewers, because somebody did it, if I didn't do it, but whatever. But I'm digressing now. So the new policies that they just implemented, then I get a strike on a video that's been there forever. And they have already had these algorithms in place to kind of dissect your content. So they knew back then the same thing they knew today or yesterday. So with the new rule changes, they're narrowing the bar there a little bit. So they flagged me. But I think what's happening is since they're going to eliminate a bunch of channels, they're finding reasons to eliminate them more for a public relations point of view than anything else, because they don't want to be viewed by the average person as somebody squashing free speech. So they're going to come up with these little nitpicky things that weren't in the past but are now in present day, and they'll take you out with old videos. So I got my first strike. They warned me, one more of these, you're gone. Okay. I deleted that video because there's no point in appealing anything with these guys, at least from my point of view, because I've appealed with them about the monetization and some other things in the past, and I've pretty much gotten no response. So I think that process is there just to make you feel better, like you're actually able to voice your opinion. And this was a parody video on top of it. But I have a couple other ones there that I'm thinking of taking down in the meantime. And that's where I'm going with this. I'm thinking of taking a great deal of my video content off of YouTube just so I don't hit any of those strikes. And if I do get hit with being banned for some reason, then that's going to affect the website, my website, as well as other things, because we have the videos that you're watching now that we post right on our website for everybody to see. We usually do the first segment of the show, and we're hoping that carries you over into listening to the radio broadcast. But we also use YouTube for an archive on another channel of the entire full-length broadcast of the show. So if for some reason we're kicked off of YouTube, then we're going to have to find a viable source to have this content available. There are other, but nothing like YouTube. But the problem is, where I was going with some of this is, it was us early channels that made YouTube a viable website for people to go to. And these are the people that I believe that they are targeting. Because unless you're talking about a Disney movie or you're talking about something pop culture-ish, they don't want you. And they've allowed the mainstream, the news outlets who already have this platform of their own to come in. You can get Fox News Channel, you can get CBS News Channel, All these other channels are now on YouTube. So they've switched when they were in the early days from anybody can be a YouTube star thing. Just come on and give us content. Anybody can be a YouTube star. Now they've transitioned into a commercial viable operation, and because of what they're claiming are rules the government has implemented, they're changing their policy and they're getting rid of channels. So again, if for some reason the video content is gone from the website as well as YouTube, that's probably why, and we're warning you now. We're going to do our best over the vacation that's coming up to get rid of all the videos we can and only do the music videos and stuff like the music awards. We'll still leave the archives because I don't know if they're going to go through a whole hour of material on the archive, but we're going to get rid of all the short videos. And it's unfortunate. I don't know where we're going to be able to have this out for display anymore. But because they're curtailing a form of freedom of speech, which they're allowed to, it's their website. And it's just unfortunate that the people who started YouTube sold it to Google. That operation, Google itself, if you look into them, you go far enough back, pretty much was funded by the CIA. So you see that they're just trying to get rid of, in my opinion, any voices they don't want. When this platform was built on people who had these little voices, I mean, it was kind of a vlog thing in the early days where people would get on and we'd just talk about something and people would do video responses. That went away as well. They didn't want that. That caused fighting or whatever. It's going to be very difficult for people like myself to continue to produce content on sites like this because they just don't want it. And they're finding every single reason they can to just swipe. They don't even care that it was people like us who gave them viability. We no longer matter. And isn't that what happens with all corporations when they get too big? The people that got them there, they don't care about. Star Wars, and Lucasfilms, once they were bought out by Disney, they didn't care anymore. Too big to care. We've heard of too big to fail. I think it's too big to care. A couple things on the music awards before we go to break. I mean, things are going very well. We had a tremendous week. I think it was 46,000 people we reached in the first week basically of the Banger Music Awards. So I want to thank all the bands for really participating and hope you understand that amount of people that have been reached means you yourselves have been able to get in front of people you never probably would have ever been able to get in front of because of that fact. The voting, we broke a single day record with 500 votes in that first day. And in fact, we're averaging about 500 votes a day. I mean, last year I think we were averaging about 60. So we've probably doubled what we did last year in that regard, which is great, again, for everybody, because people are getting exposed to people they never had a chance to be exposed to. At least for the bands that are really participating, you're all winning in this, whether you actually win an award or not. And I can't thank you all enough for participating and giving me the great music. And we've had so much new music come in since the announcements that it's going to be 2020 for the Banger Music Hour is going to be able to kick off with a blast. Last year I think we were averaging 4 new songs per show. If what I think is going to happens, we'll probably be able to debut 5 to 6 new songs each and every week on the show because of that. And I have to thank the bands, the radio stations that are carrying the show. With that being said, I think we're going to take our first time out, folks. So hang in there. We got the meat and potatoes of the broadcast heading your way. Be right back.
Hey, Uncle Shady, where are they going? Hey, you, get back here. The John LeBang Show will be right back.
Does your house need a paint job, but you don't want to do it? Then call Tom at Quality One Painting. He can handle all of your interior and exterior painting needs. He gives free estimates and senior discounts. Call Tom at Quality One, 313-982-2986. That's 313-982-2986. Quality One Painting.
You're listening to the John LeBang Show.
It's better than an Islander convention.
Well, Charlie's Angels, the reboot, is out in theaters, and it didn't have a very good weekend. And isn't that what we're seeing, ladies and gentlemen, in the movie industry and the cinematic universes out there? Reboots are fizzling in the theater. And is that because nobody wants these reboots? I mean, who wanted a Charlie's Angels reboot? For that matter, a Ghostbusters reboot, but with chicks, and Thor playing an idiot who is a boar. Speaking of boars, pretty soon there will be a new Star Wars movie. Kylo and Rey, along with JJ, returning this Christmas. They'll fight the Emperor. I thought he was dead. Didn't Darth Vader throw him off the ledge? He fell to his doom. And then the Death Star went boom. Luke turning to an addiction of green juice from an ocean cow's boob. That's what Hollywood is producing these days. They're taking old movies, old concepts, reshaping it, reforming it, even straight up plagiarizing it at times, mocking it. And Hollywood is producing very few things that are of actual quality and originality. What has been so original these past few years, in fact, the past decade, in the cinema? You've got reboot after reboot after reboot after reboot. Some that were okay, some that weren't. They even went and got the Japanese monster Godzilla and rebooted it here. They did. And although it did okay, and the graphics were amazing, they've got no new ideas. They've got nothing that is original anymore. And unfortunately, everything has some sort of social justice messaging attached to the story. Even if it's in some kind of subtle manner. Disney may be the absolute worst when it comes to this. Everything they produce has some sort of SJW this and SJW that. The portrayal of these modern cinema protagonists and or heroes are vomit-inducing. Look at what we got. We got Rey in the new Star Wars trilogy that's really coming to a conclusion. She's the Mary Sue of Mary Sues. Hardly any hardships. She knows how to do everything. She's great at everything. She can even beat a trained Jedi or Sith in Kylo Ren at a game of lightsaber. She had no training, as Mark Hamill said. She never went to Dagobah. She just automatically had all this force ability. Her midi-chlorians must be through the roof. Although we haven't heard much about her midi-chlorians. Didn't somebody in the rebellion or the resistance? I mean, they get that confused in The Last Jedi. They get that really confused. They don't know if it's the rebellion or the resistance. Maybe they're the same thing. But didn't somebody there, maybe Princess Leia, who's obviously the greatest Jedi ever to live, she was able to Mary Poppins her way back into a ship, that the bridge was blown away and she had been sucked into space.
This is madness.
The Force is strong with her. Wouldn't Leia have checked her midi-chlorians?
We're doomed.
Does Leia even know what midi-chlorians is? Is the fact that Carrie Fisher being dead means Princess Leia doesn't think anymore?
This time you have gone too far.
And wouldn't check for midi-chlorians in Rey, because obviously they're off the charts.
I see your point, sir.
Another one of those SJW Mary Sue types is, of course, Captain Marvel. Carol Danvers. In that Marvel universe. Yeah, she got her powers from the Tesseract. Didn't kill her. Kills almost everybody else, normal human beings. Didn't kill her. But when her power was realized, she was unstoppable, and she can rip through ships like it's nothing. Not just ships from the bad guys in her movie, but Thanos' ship. She comes out of nowhere, the Mary Sue of the Marvel universe, and rips through the ship like it's warm butter. But that movie was great, right? That movie was original. Except Marvel movies, in their own right, are reboots. What? No, they're not, John. They damn well are. You see, the average person doesn't really know this. The average person wasn't the comic book geek. All Marvel is doing, now owned by Disney, the same people who own Lucasfilms, same people who make the Star Wars homogenized movies. All the Marvel movies are reboots. They're just using comic books versus old movie franchises, which we can't get away from them because we just had the Terminator one. And Sylvester Stallone was Rambo again, because that's all Hollywood has to offer. Recycled, politically correct recycled material. So it's not even as good as the original. But we're in a social justice culture, and because Hollywood is in control of that, the media is in control of the social justice culture, we have to deal with characters like Rey the Mary Sue, Captain the Invincible Marvel. But none of these have originality because they're taking from the comic books. And they're bastardizing the comic book stories on top of that. Sure, the Marvel Universe has been great. Don't get me wrong. I was a huge fan until recently. You see, it started going south during the Black Panther movie. And I really liked Black Panther and Captain America Civil War. Something was different in that Black Panther movie. And then the social justice warriors who came out to give a C movie an A rating, even getting that nominated for something, for some kind of award that usually superhero movies don't get awards for. But they fixed that with a great Infinity War movie. It was fabulous. But then it went and took a turn for the worst again. Ant-Man was Ant-Man movie. But they set up something that they never paid off in my eyes. Or if they did pay it off, it was cheap and unoriginal. And it was one of those, oh, by accident, the whole universe is saved. A rat saved the universe. Go watch Endgame one more time. Going further, we have the fake girl power. Because these protagonists, or in Endgame, it was hard to judge who the actual protagonists were. It was more like a team of protagonists that went and screwed up time. And then acted like they fixed it. When Loki's on the loose, can't fix it. But these movies are becoming homogenized stories with uninteresting characters and dialogue. And they're all glued together with special effects. They call them all remakes, but in the case of The Lion King, they called it live action. When you have a bunch of CGI characters on screen, calling it live action is a farce. There's nothing live about the action. It's more like augmented visual theatrics. And the credits are longer than the lifespan of the Mayfly. So when you boil all these new movies down, which are really old remakes of successful franchises or successful ideas, as with the stuff with Marvel. I mean, Marvel did it great for a long time. But you can see that they're collapsing under the weight of social justice and being owned by Disney. And how they were able to purchase even more properties and grow larger just last year. Maybe this year. Yeah, I think it was in February of this year. You see, a lot of people are excited about the X-Men and the Fantastic Four coming to the Marvel Universe. And it's great, except Disney is building a mega monopoly. And with their long-standing history, you wonder how this is possible. Well, you don't wonder. We all know that they're and have always been part of the elites in the media pantheon. So because they're part of the elites, the kings, they've always been, them growing to a monopoly, well, nobody cares about that. They only care when the monopoly is being gathered by somebody that's not part of the elite. And these days, we can see that everything is infested with that stuff. We've got to take one more time out, folks. We got more on the flip side of this. Hope you're enjoying the show. Be right back.
Don't move a muscle.
The John LeBang Show will be right back.
With lots of fun and excitement. Yes! Are you in need of commercial or residential window cleaning? Do you need your office cleaned? Maybe custodial work? How about some gutter cleaning? If you do, then call Pane in the Glass. For a beautiful shine that's crystal clear, call Pane and the Glass. You can find them on Facebook at Pane and the Glass.
Hey, man, it's at the bottom of the hour, man. Do you know where your kids are, man?
If you want to contact the John LeBang Show, feel free to send an email to jlebang@live.com. And if you're on Twitter, look him up at John LeBang. And don't forget to go to his Facebook page at The John LeBang Show. Banger. Now here's John.
As if all the conspiracy theories have come true, or are coming true, or will be coming true, get this headline. FBI investigating possibility of criminal enterprise in Jeffrey Epstein's death. Yeah! The two guards are facing criminal charges because they had a derelict of duty. But now they're getting around to figuring out, oh, this was probably something bigger. Nobody believed the official story. How can you believe the official story ever these days? And the mainstream media, including ABC, who had this story about Epstein and all the sick things that was going on over there at that island and everything. ABC had this, and they didn't do anything about it. They kept it quiet 3 years ago, or for 3 years prior. There's no criminal enterprise. Now they're coming around to it, right? Now somebody's figuring it out. Or are they? You see, the FBI is in charge of this, and can we trust the FBI? Knowing their recent history? They could be there to make sure the cover-up is nice and clean. See, when you have the Federal Bureau of Investigation investigating it, it's very simple to go, whoa, see, there's evidence there. We get some, just send somebody and get rid of that. Yeah, good job. All right. Nothing to see here, folks. He just hung himself. His neck broke accidentally on purpose. Also, in the news, we have new census data. And this data says that about 1 million same-sex households are in the United States.
Fake news. Fake news.
Gotta love the reporting on this one.
Fake news.
Because they're trying to portray this as gay households. But from how I am reading the data, folks, and that's available to you if you just search it out, it's just guys living together. So you might have friends, college buddies, brothers, workmates, sports buddies, whatever the case may be. Could be anything. But the headline states, new census data about 1 million same-sex households in the U.S., implying that that is gay people living together. Some are, and some are not, by how I read this data. And on that, folks, I have to ask you because I'm quite curious. I've asked before, but didn't get really a great deal of response. Have you been censused? Because I haven't. I don't know anybody personally that's been censused. So how are they coming up with new census data when nobody has been censused as far as I can tell? So please, ladies and gentlemen, if you've been censused, leave a little message in the comment section or the chat room. Send me an email. Tell me when you were censused and what questions they asked you. Because I haven't been censused. There hasn't been a note on my door saying, hey, we were here from the Census Bureau. We wanted to census you. But since you were not home, could you please call us so we can get your census? Nobody's done that. I haven't seen anything according to that. So is the census even happening? And if it's happening, where is it happening at? And when is it going to get around to me? Not that I want to be censused. But if you're telling me that you have data from censusing people and I haven't been censused, I want to know where you are censusing at. That's a hard word. Censusing at. Whew. To continue on with the story, though, they're saying in this story, it's significant progress and we are excited about it. But we're really missing quite a lot of community data, says the director of the National LGBTQ Task Force. Well, folks, I went and checked them out because I'm like, wow, there's a task force for this. So let's find out what this task force is all about. And on their website, it says the National LGBTQ Task Force is an official social justice advocate organizing the grassroots power of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer community, also known as the Task Force. Well, it's nice to know we can call them queers now. I thought that was a offensive word, but since the LGBTQ, X, Y, and Z community uses that word in their acronym, it must be okay to use queer. So that's good to know. At least that part of speech is being allowed. But can you imagine the meetings at the National LGBTQ Task Force.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming to the meeting. This week's agenda, how to avoid chapped ass. We'll also be selling our annual Dirty Dean Gay Ball tickets, so please buy them. This year, we'll be having world-famous lesbian author Ima Butch coming to give the keynote address. It's always a gay old time, folks. Remember, tickets are $10 or $5 if you take the back door. Now, with that being said, let me introduce our speaker for tonight, all the way from Colorado. Let's give a queer warm welcome to the Transistor.
Hi, everyone.
In a related story, anal cancer is on the rise. The United States is experiencing a dramatic and concerning rise in the rate of new anal cancer. The cases and deaths are on the increase, particularly among young black men and elderly women. The most common type of anal cancer rose 2.7% per year over a recent 15-year period, while anal cancer mortality rates increased 3.1% per year during that time. At this rate, the disease can be considered as one of the fastest accelerating causes of cancer and mortality in the United States, said the study's lead author. It's hard to understand what might be causing the rise in incidence and mortality, but possible reasons could include more risky sexual behavior in recent decades and the rise of obesity rates, which could be a factor as well. Notice he said the truth there, and then he had to add something else. Now, according to these people, what are the leading risk factors for anal cancer? This is a public service announcement for all of you out there. Besides being infected with HPV, the National Cancer Institute says they include having many sexual partners. So if you're a male or female slut, you have a chance of getting anal cancer. That's probably because the next reason, which is having anal sex. Apparently having anal sex, which primarily happens in the gay community, but is carried over into the straight community and the bi community and the transgender community. Of course, being over 50 is a chance of having anal cancer. So look out, anybody over 50. And if you've had anal sex and many sex partners, you might be at high risk. One more is experiencing frequent anal redness, swelling, and soreness. And you probably get that from having your anal sex. And finally, smoking, because smoking causes everything. That's right. So if you smoke and you're over 50 and you've had anal sex and like having anal sex and you've had many sex partners, you're probably at high risk for having anal cancer. In an unrelated story, teen arrested on suspicion of using a remote-controlled car to smuggle drugs across the border. A 16-year-old boy was arrested early Sunday morning on suspicion of using a remote car to transport methamphetamines across the border near a port of entry. Border Patrol agents believe someone on the south side of the U.S.-Mexico border was able to slip a drug-laden car through a gap in the border wall. Got to make those gaps smaller, Mr. Trump, because apparently they can sneak through the border wall if there is a border wall down there. See, it's confusing because some places have a border wall and some don't, apparently. In a related story to that, there's a group building a border wall on private land with private funds, and they've been told to stop. Yeah. That's because you can't do what you want on your own property these days. So people who want to build a border wall on their border, you can't do that because the U.S. government's going to say, no, sorry. We're building the border wall, And until we build it right there, you don't get to build it. We want to spend taxpayers' money instead of private money. In another unrelated story, Jericho residents fight for helicopter flights from his home. Yeah, some dude, some rich guy wants to be able to fly in and out of his property on a helicopter. And it's in the middle of nowhere, but some of his neighbors don't like hearing the helicopter. I wouldn't appreciate that either, but it's really hard to say you can't do something on your own property. And a couple other important but unrelated stories. The Federal Reserve aids the financial system with $102.44 billion in latest repo transaction. Basically, they're pumping money into the system because there's not enough money there to pay debts. That is a worrisome sign for the economy, in my opinion. Also, in related news, I feel, spending for the first 2.5 years of Trump administration, 13% higher than the same period under Obama. So there's one promise that you Trump fans are not criticizing him for. That is dangerous, and you're out there cheering his rallies. Now, I understand the man's under tremendous pressure right now. He even had an emergency visit to the doctor in recent days. But still, good job with signing that omnibus bill, Mr. President. Hopefully, when this next government shutdown lingers, which it's coming, we're going to start hearing about it any day now. Once the boring impeachment news is over, and we're going to talk about that in the next segment, once all that's over, then we'll be able to focus on more important issues like the debt and trade deals and all that. We'll be right back, folks.
Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
Because the John LeBang Show will be right back.
After this.
That's guaranteed. Yes.
At Absolute Skin and Body Care, they only use the best laser equipment in the industry so that you receive the best results possible. They'll explain all the procedures in detail and answer all of your questions. Absolute Skin and Body Care. If you're looking for skin rejuvenation, laser lipo, or laser hair removal, call Absolute Skin and Body Care. They're located at 37625 Ann Arbor Road, Suite 105 in Livonia, Michigan. Absolute Skin and Body Care. Their office phone numbers are 248-305-3000. That's 248-305-3000. Absolute Skin and Body Care. You're listening to the John LeBang Show. It's huge. Now I gotta tweet about it. Normally we would bring in the Days of Our Lives sound bites right now, but we really didn't have time this week to get it properly edited and ready to go, so we're gonna save that for the next hour. So what we're going to do here is just talk a little bit about the impeachment hearings that have been going on again continuously. And I wanted to talk about this Lieutenant Colonel Vindman. He's currently an Army Lieutenant Colonel on the National Security Council staff. Now, he told the impeachment inquiry people that it was improper that the president, Donald Trump, to demand a foreign government to investigate a U.S. citizen and a potential political opponent. Because technically, until the primaries are over, Biden is not a political opponent to Trump. He's more of a political opponent to all the Democrats. Nobody's running against Trump right now. But he says improper. What does that mean? Is improper illegal? Is improper wrong? Is improper an opinion? Because that's what is happening with these hearings. All the witnesses that I've seen, for the most part, except for a couple that I'd like to play sound bites for, but we can't get it in today, all of them have given strict opinion. And the ones that aren't opinionated, the ones that were speaking straight talk, well, those guys are actually leaving government soon because they can't stand this whole
impeachment thing and what it is doing to them and to other people. So the reporting on this, and Nunes had a great response to this, but the reporting on this has been, oh, they got more information. Oh, they have this. Oh, no, more damning testimony against Trump. Have you been listening, ladies and gentlemen? Because if you're actually watching the hearings and listening to them and maybe taking the time like we have to re-listen to them, there's been nothing of importance revealed by any of these witnesses that the Democrats have brought forward. What there has been is a lot of hearsay. There's been a lot of secondhand information. There's been a lot of opinion, and we all have it, and we all disagree with a leader at some point or the other. But that doesn't mean it's a crime. That doesn't mean it's quid pro quo. That doesn't mean that it's criminal behavior on the level of bribery, which is now the new goalpost for the Democrats. It's gone from collusion, corruption, quid pro quo, now bribery. They're searching for every means they can. So they bring up this Lieutenant Vindman, who is the next star witness. Well, he makes his testimony, which, when we play the sound bites in the coming hour, in the next hour, I mean, you'll see that his testimony did nothing but give more opinion and wasn't all that damning. And in fact, some of his testimony supports Trump's position. But that's not going to be reported by the malpractice media, because that would destroy the narrative. And because they're a wing of the Democrat Party, unfortunately, we have to say it like it is. I'm not pro-Republican, I'm not pro-Trump, but when you got to call a spade, and right now, Adam Schiff and this whole impeachment farce, which is barely a hearing, it's more like a show trial without the defendant there and their lawyers to be able to cross-examine witnesses. They're relying on a minority party who is being stifled when they get too close to the truth. And that's where I'm going with this Vindman. We're going to play in the next John LeBang show sound bites from this guy. But he's lying. I'm telling you that right now. This guy is lying because he knows the whistleblower. And how do I know that? Because every time a Republican asks the question on the people he talked to about this, one, he brings out nice wide open in the open. The second one, which is part of the intelligence community, the IC, he can't name. And when they're asking him why he can't name them, the reason is we can't out the whistleblower. Adam Schiff then steps in. We can't out the whistleblower. And the idea is, wait a minute. I thought, Vindman, your testimony says you don't know the whistleblower. So how can you withhold this information? Is this guy the whistleblower? And if he is, then you know the whistleblower. And if he's not the whistleblower, then why can't you tell us his name? And then they asked that of Schiff. Schiff says, we can't out the whistleblower. Well, Schiff is not supposed to know who the whistleblower is, even though his staff or somebody in the staff, him himself, we don't know who, has been in contact with the whistleblower, because they're the ones who set all this motion, or all of this in motion. They helped the so-called whistleblower follow the proper procedures to report this whistleblowing event. But now we have Vindman up there saying he does not know who the whistleblower is, but he cannot tell you who he told, one of the person that he told this information to about the phone call, which the transcripts are there. And if you've read the transcripts, you will see that there's nothing there. Nothing there at all. It's available somewhere on my Facebook page. You can go there, check it out. No big deal. But here's Vindman saying he doesn't know who the whistleblower is, but when they ask him the people he told about this phone call, he tells you one guy from the State Department, and then he says, I can't tell you the other one because that would out the whistleblower. But how can that be? If you don't know who the whistleblower is, how can telling someone or talking about someone who's apparently not the whistleblower, how can that be outing the whistleblower? So, in my humble opinion, this guy's a liar. And the Democrats know it. He knows it. So what are they going to do? The big news is they're going to hide him away. Just like the so-called first whistleblower that they wanted to have them testify, but now they're not testifying. They're all hidden in secret. And they want to do that to this Vindman guy. They want to put him away, him and his family away, because maybe the evil Donald Trump will have him killed. Excuse me, may I remind people of something? All you media types out there, malpractice media types out there, if any of you are listening, let me clue you in. If this guy ends up dead or the whistleblower ends up dead, you may try to blame it on Trump and his affiliates. But can I remind you of something, please? Who is it that friends mysteriously die for no apparent reason, and they die in the weirdest ways? It's not Trump's former associates that happens to. It's the Clinton former associates. That's pretty common knowledge. We don't even have to try to find that out. So, in an investigation that's really deflecting the blame of the corruption inside our 2016 election, which looks more and more every day like the Democrats were the one colluding with a foreign government. Everything they're blaming Trump on or for seems to be something they did themselves. Joe Biden, video evidence of it, comes out and says, we're not going to give you money if you don't fire this prosecutor. The prosecutor that just happens to be investigating his son. That's not quid pro quo. That's not bribery. That's not corruption. That's not collusion. That's nothing. Because he's a Democrat. And Democrats always support other Democrats. That's what they do. In October, maybe even early September, where the whistleblower, Adam Schiff wants the whistleblower to testify. Bring them out. We're making deals so they'll come out and testify. While that's all happening, they're having secret meetings in the basement of the Capitol building. None of us can see what's going on. None of us can see. The Republicans had to force their way in because they weren't allowed to be part of the process. The president isn't allowed to be part of the process. He's not allowed to have defense attorneys. He's not allowed to cross-examine or have his lawyers cross-examine. Why? Because this isn't really a trial. This isn't really an impeachment process. This is a political process to damage the president because the Democrats not only are trying to deflect their transgressions, because I think Trump's got too close. Somebody's gotten way too close to this, and the Democrats are extremely nervous. But not only that, this is to deflect it all on the president to keep the media coverage away from them. So the president is damaged, or they are hoping that he is damaged in the next election because they can't beat him. There is nobody in the Democrat primaries right now that can beat Donald Trump on a head-to-head matchup. Nobody. Bloomberg's thinking of coming in because the pickings are slim over there. So with that being said, folks, we're up against our time once again. So I want to thank all of you for tuning in to the broadcast. Would like to just tell you that in the coming weeks, we're going to be heading to our holiday vacation period, which means that we're going to be playing a lot of specials prior and reruns and new stuff coming up as well. So we want you to tune in for that. If you're interested in finding out what is in the coming weeks, and we have 2 more hours to broadcast. Our last official broadcast for 2019 will be the day before Thanksgiving. So we're hoping that you will continue to tune in for those. But after that, we're going to be going on our Christmas vacation break. We'll want you to tune in to all of our specials, things that get a tremendously great response, and that's why we use them during this time that we're off to regroup. We're going to actually do some more studio work. We're going to enjoy some time with the family. We're going to hopefully have a little bit of holiday cheer as well. But we're really going to be prepping for the 2020 Banger Music Awards during that period, which if you haven't participated in that yet, please go to our website, www.jlebang.com, because there's so many great things going on there, and you get to listen to some great music that you probably never heard. I just heard from a friend of mine who went in and started listening through all the music, and he's like, man, there's some really great bands here. And I'm like, I know! More people need to pay attention and tune in. And the people who are tuning in, don't just tune in for the band you love, because that's great, but there's a lot of great music you're missing out by just simply going there, voting, and getting out of there, when you could just be tuning in to all kinds of great stuff in every single category that we've nominated. And there are 15 in total. 14 of them. We're waiting on the 15th one in that Battle of the Jams competition, which if you haven't taken part in that, please go to our Facebook page and participate in that as well. You get to vote on which tune is better, and the winners of each bracket move on to the Crank It Up Award for the Banger Music Awards, and that'll be released December 11th, right after the Radiothon on Alien X Radio. If you're not tuning into that or didn't know about that, that'll be happening, I believe it's the weekend of December 8th. So it's right there, and then they'll be going for 36 hours. I may even stop by. Don't know yet. Haven't figured that one out. But they're going to have bands playing if you're interested in listening to bands filling in and all that. That's what's going to be going on there. With that being said, folks, please, I want to thank all of you for tuning in. Go to our website, www.jlebang.com. Please participate in the Banger Music Awards. See what else is happening there. There's a lot of great stuff, lots to check out. You can spend a whole day there if you wanted, and that's all right with us, because we don't mind you being with us, because that's like you coming out and hanging out in our home. Thank you to all of our affiliate stations for carrying the John LeBang Show. And until the vibrations of my vocal cords reach your ears again, my friends, I thank you once again. See you next time from the John LeBang Show. We're out of here.
Tune in again next week. Same time, same space, same station.
Resistance is futile.